Well, we're still at SITS. I'm with Sami Kallio of Happy Signals. How are you doing, Sami?
Very good, very good.
Enjoying being out meeting people again?
Yeah, it has been an excellent thing to really have discussions face to face. That's an enormous thing. Yeah.
Such a difference, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does, and even more, it's even bigger issue when you are meeting new people. You try to do that online, get to know people. It's so much difference. You get in 10 minutes, you get farther than in 2 hours meeting.
Yeah, and so much that you can get done.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about where we are as an industry, and experience management is it's one of two or three big. We talk about well-being and employees, which you get into, but experience management is the thing. And everybody wants to do it, and you guys have been doing that for a little while. What are the kind of headlines from your perspective as to where we are with that as an industry? Are we understanding it? Are we doing it? Are we still have a long way to go?
I think it has been changing. Like still 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when we were the first time here in UK, I tried to speak about the experience of end users. More than 50% of people said to me that they are not interested, that end users will anyway just complain. And that has changed now during the years, so that last time when we had this on-site event and now here, people are really interested to understand what it is. But as a kind of maturity of the industry, I would still say that many are thinking about the measurement part of XGS management, that we need to get the data in, which is a good start, and that is the way how you should be starting it. But really, how to use it in your practical daily, weekly life with the business, with the vendors and so on, that is the maturity it's not yet there. So it's not a kind of a mature way of working, it's still, we are learning.
Is it in danger of becoming another one of those things that people think, oh well, we need to do that, but they don't really understand it, or is it just that the metrics are still evolving from your perspective?
I would say the metrics, at least in our case, they are there. Of course, it's most of the companies still are doing it ticket-based area, and then having maybe yearly surveys, but the yearly survey is changing that to be continuous measurement, because it makes a huge difference on the daily way of working and really changing how we understand the experience. Yearly surveys will not give you that understanding that you can work in different projects and understand how that is changing that experience of end users. So everything has to be continuous. And in that area, what really are the touch points and things to ask in the overall IT experience, not only in service management, that is still developing in our product and I think in other products as well.
And from the point of view of, I know you've got the experience framework that's available for people to use. Is that helping people? Do you have examples where that's practically helping people to pull that stuff together?
Yeah, I think currently it is a start. So that is a collaboration or kind of collection of the best practices we have learned from the customers, and we are implementing and adding things to that framework still. But now there is the certification of the foundation course available in the itxm.academy site. But it is still a thing that will be developing, so the practical ways of working are going to be added. From my perspective, I see that as a kind of a library of things that you can implement, or you can kind of pick up those ones that will help you to do it. So it's no point, we are not trying to kind of replace anything, but having the practical ways of working written so that everybody don't have to kind of invent them by themselves. So I think that is why we implemented. One big driver for that was that now during the last year, I have not anymore been asked what is XLAs so much, but been asked how to do it. So very, very practically, how I'm going to change my whole IT organization to be more oriented in experience. And that is a huge change for organizations. And we discussed that yesterday with Mark Butcher for Wiley, and he did go through their journey. They have been using our product now for 8 months, so really early stages, but he had great plans of how that journey, and he was talking about the journey, and it's not a quick win, it is a thing that you continuously do, and that is kind of the thing, it's not measurement, it's the way of working.
Yeah, so it is a cultural change.
Heavily, yeah.
How we work, as opposed to just another tick in the box that we need. Oh, we need to have experience data.
Yeah.
I have come across one or two places that could have gone in that direction. Like, oh, we've got this, but we don't know what to do. It's more that they don't know what to do with it. I think they're able to capture the data, but as you said, the understanding of how to make it useful is still a challenge. just on that, what do you think would be a couple of sort of guide points from what people could be or should be doing to make it useful? I mean, if they're kind of because I mean we are talking about how you interpret it, how you interpret business data about how people work.
Yeah.
It's not really an IT skill.
Yeah.
Being done by IT people who are interested in technology.
Yeah.
So what would be the couple of things that you would say that?
I think what we talk about in that ITXM framework is there is one thing called maturity pyramid, and in that one the second step after measurement is transparency, sharing data, and that is really, and I cannot underline that enough, how important that is for that cultural change. And now that sharing coming from the agent level to CIO to business and vendors, because if you don't do that, you will not gather the kind of trust from people.
Yeah.
And when you do that openly, that everybody can see that data on daily basis if they wish, that creates kind of situation that then you start to quite often slowly focus on the things that really matter. So that's then data-based decisions between different partners of the whole ecosystem. So it's not anymore that somebody somewhere is knowing something about the experience, but giving enough easy tools for everybody to be involved and understanding my role in the experience. And that is a long journey, but you have to have a plan. So when you start to measure it, do a plan how you are going to get people into experience management. And don't try to do everything at once. Select teams that will be your own kind of a example. And when they do it and they are successful and they start to have more motivation, which is quite interesting, a thing that is quite often forgotten. Yesterday we have 7 tips of experience management. The last one that I wanted to underline is celebrate success. And that really is the big thing that changes, that is quite often forgotten, and that is the thing that drives me even more than the experience of end users, is how it changes us IT people, how we feel. Because then you are not anymore just making sure if the technical things are running, you're helping people. And that mind shift, when that happens, you see, like yesterday, Mark Pastor just enjoyed his passion, because he was so proud already what he and his team has been achieving. And that is a kind of a new energy. And I think that is the big thing when it comes to experience management. It's more meaningful work for IT.
Yeah, and for too long we've been seen as the guys in the basement who are just, throw work at them like a food to a dog. I used to say, years ago, I used to say, get your CIO to work on the service desk for a day.
Yeah.
So that they experience what it's like and things will change. You're kind of saying something the transparency thing I think is great, because it's like, we'll just make people aware of what's actually happening, and then they will do something about it.
Yeah. I have in the really beginning of our company, we did also kind of interviews and consulting a bit. We don't do that anymore, so we are only SaaS product company. But during that time, nowadays we are focused on the kind of quantity of feedback. At the time, we were focused on the quality of the feedback, and we had interviews. And one of the biggest and best practice we did at the time was that we did take the person who was responsible of service desk to a 3-hour meeting where we had 7 to 10 people from the organization. This person running the services was not allowed to speak. We made them listen 2 or 3 hours, real customer stories, real journeys, what their end users have been experiencing. They all said after that was the most terrible and simultaneously the most valuable day of my career. In the end, we let them speak, of course, but and if there was a direct question, yes, we let them speak. But the idea was that we just want to understand. We don't want to teach anything to end users. We want to understand what are the kind of workarounds, for example, that they do just to avoid the official service desk because of something is wrong there. And that really was and still I remember those discussions, even though that's now 7 years ago. There was so excellent feedback from normal people, like factory people. They're just like saying one guy, he was almost 2 meters long, rose up and took a screwdriver and showed that to me, this is a tool. Then he pointed a laptop out, his friends, that is a toy. And he sat down. That was kind of excellent. I'm like, all right, 3 hours with this guy, I will learn. And he had excellent points in the end, but he had to get that out of him in the beginning. So I recommend that way of working, that have some consultant to run that kind of workshop for you if you are running service desk. So that is a terrible and excellent experience.
Okay, thank you very much. That's great stuff. I like stuff about the transparency and the experience and the culture. And maybe next year we'll speak again and see where we are as an industry from there. Thanks very much, Sami.
Thank you, Patrick.